Imagine a guy and a girl. They've been seeing each other for a while and decided to take things further. You know, from holding hands, kissing, to something more intense. You know what I'm saying, right? They go on a date. The restaurant he picked is great. She loves it. He's charismatic. She laughs at his jokes. Things are going pretty smoothly. He drives the girl home, and finally she said, "Would you like to come out for coffee maybe?" The guy's thinking, 11 p.m. coffee, hell yeah, let's do it baby. These two are on fire, kissing, undressing each other like they've been on a dry spell for their entire lives. Everything's ready to go. They're ready to have the most intense sex the first time in a long time. Then, the guy can get a hard-on. Awkward, very awkward. Another story, this time is a teenage boy. You know how teenage boy can have sexual reaction to the most sexual irrelevant thing. Say maybe a cup of water, I don't know, maybe oxygen that we breathe in. They don't need a thing, they don't need a reason. With their raging libido, they just do. So the boy walks on the street on a random day in a random park, which by the way is a pretty busy park. Lots of people running, taking a stroll, having a picnic, etc. Point is, lots of people watching, okay? The unfortunate boy has a random thought, perhaps a cup of water or something, and his penis stands up right away, still in the random busy park. Holy shit, bro, calm down, please, public decency, okay? Don't do that to me. The boy doesn't want it, but he can't control it. He freaks out. Alright, I'll do you a favor. I'll leave it to you to give the story an imaginary end. So what these two stories tell us is that your body can fail to match your brain. In other words, sometimes when your body tells you, I want it, I want to do this, but your brain may go like, I don't want to do that, as in the boy's case. Similarly, it can also be like your brain actually wants to do something, but your body fails to act accordingly, as in the poor guy's case. This is non-concordance. And it happens to all of us. It actually happens more often to females than males. And failing to understand non-concordance can be very, very dangerous. If, for example, assuming the guy in the story doesn't have any erectile dysfunction problem, he and the boy have no idea it's non-concordance at play. By experiencing what happened to them, they may go like, am I broken? Is my body broken? My body's not listening to me. It can't do the thing that I tells it to do. What is wrong with me? Am I broken? And they freak out. But in reality, you're not broken, it's just a non-concordance. In more serious case, rapers say, you say no, but your body says yes. For fuck's sake, genital response doesn't equal consent. When one says no, it means no. It's non-concordance. It's genital response failing to match your subjective experience. Research shows that in men, there is a 50% chance the genital response would match the subjective experience. But guess what the percentile looks like for females? It's only 10%, which is mind-blowing. What all this tells us is that female sexuality is very much context-dependent. Understanding that is a key to have the perfect sex, according to Emily Nagoski. I would like to think of it as a where to have dinner tonight sort of situation. So your genital is basically a restaurant detector. Whenever you see a restaurant, it goes like, hey, this is a restaurant, we can have dinner here, / we can have sex here. But your brain functions very differently. You may go like, I don't like the vibe, I don't like this restaurant, I want to go to the museum. But a museum doesn't have a restaurant where we can eat, says the genital. But you go there anyway, wandering through the museum, checking out different things, enjoying your time, having the best day of your life, and eventually you get to a little cafe. And now the genital goes, hey, I see a little cafe we can eat here. And this time your brain gives it permission and it says, yeah, let's do this. Does this all make sense? So female sexuality is very much context dependent, which also explains why foreplay is very, very important for females, but not so much for males. It also explains why erectile dysfunction drugs like Viagra only works for men but doesn't work for women. Because what Viagra does is pumping blood to your genital. So when you pump blood to a male genital, it gets a genital response and there's a very high chance he actually wants to have sex. But if you do that to a female, even if she gets a genital response, that's, hey, that's a restaurant, we can eat here. but it doesn't create this is the little cafe in the museum where I want to eat sort of a context. She may have a genital response, but she wouldn't respond sexually. So it doesn't work. In fact, the scientists are still looking for the pink Viagra, which seems very unpromising because context isn't about genital. It's actually about external environment and internal state. External environment can include things like the space, the physical space that you are in, the messages that we're receiving, moral message, medical message, and also media message. Messages like, if you don't know or you haven't tried 100 different sex positions, you are a prude. Also the message, if you have too much sex or too many sex partners, especially before getting married, you are a slut. So you see, this media message is very unfriendly, particularly very unfriendly to females. Imagine what that does to you mentally. Does it make you to think sex is something that's pleasant, or is it more likely to make you think sex is dirty, is something that you should avoid? Obviously the latter, right? That creates problem. And your internal state can involve things like your stress level, your attachment level, etc. And research show that most people don't want to have sex when they are stressed out, but there's a minority group of people who actually do want to have sex when they are stressed out. Imagine a couple who are quite the opposite, living together. So when one wants to have sex, it's exactly when the other doesn't want to have sex, rejects sex. Imagine how their sex life would be. Probably a lot of fighting, a lot of calling names, a lot of you don't love me anymore, and very unhappy sex life for them. But it's not so much about your physical construction or genital. It's not that you're broken. It's just, not the right context for you guys. And what they need to do is to work on that, to create a context that's, suitable for both of them. So it's all about context. Hopefully, by now you know. And let me quote the book. It's a very interesting line. So it says, the sexiest thing that you can do isn't some crazy erotic thing. It's not having a huge gigantic penis. It's not being able to do a marathon sex. This part I improvise. It's not from the book, by the way. Anyway, it goes on to say, the sexiest thing that you can do is to create the right context, to turn the offs off and the ons on. Okay. So what does that all have to do with learning, right? What's the connection with learning? Well, the connection is learning is also very much context-based. And I would like to think of it as a lot of us are looking for the learning Viagra, or are actually taking the learning Viagra to fix our learning problems. But of course, we're not pumping blood to our genital when we want to study. We're actually pumping blood to our brain, demanding it, do this and do that. You gotta do this. You must do this. Just 10 more hours, you can do it. But how did that pan out for you last time? Probably not very good, right? It doesn't work. It works short term, but it never works long term. It only tells you, hey, this is a library, we can do a maybe study there, but you may not want to. Like, the genital tells you, hey, this is a restaurant, we can eat here, but it doesn't create the right context. And if your learning always feels very difficult, unpleasant, something that you want to run away from, well, your context is very toxic. It's as if you've been eating in a shitty restaurant with terrible food that gives you food poisoning, diarrhea every single time, and customer service is way off. It's terrible, horrible, and it's overpriced. But guess what? You eat there every single day. You eat there every single day, making your body malnutritioned. This context is very difficult to change because it has a long history and it's embedded in us. It's due to our years' experience of going to school, taking exams, being told to memorize a lot of factual knowledge without giving a proper reason, and being told to work even harder to memorize even more. And all of that don't seem to have a very good purpose to it. It's also due to the mass media, videos that you are watching, blogs that you are reading. All of these are telling you to work harder, hustle culture and also discipline. But the thing is, these are bullshit, but a lot of us have been feeding ourselves on bullshit the entire life. To have the best sex or to have the best learning, whichever one you're after, it all comes down to creating the right context so that you can have a chance to change your years of bad behaviors. Unfortunately, there's no learning Viagra, and unfortunately, there's no pink Viagra for your ladies. But I believe this can actually be the good thing because it allows you a chance to explore different museums and libraries and get lost in it, to explore, to have a great time in the little cafe, to eat healthy and delicious food. It makes you curious and incentivizes you to come back for more. This is actually the fun part for sex and learning. By any chance this video improves your sex life or learning, you can thank me by sharing this video to your friends, and people who like and subscribe will have a better sex life. Bye.